Hello from the Yarn Closet in Southern Arizona. I am Laura. For those of you who are new here, I will introduce myself. It's been a minute. Oh my gosh, it's been a minute. So, I'm Laura. I live in Southern Arizona. I'm a mom of 3, 31, 18, and almost 11. I'm a crocheter, a knitter. I loom knit and I machine knit. I'm proficient in sock machine. I don't have a sock machine anymore. I don't have a flat knitting machine anymore. I still have some looms because during perimenopause, I got frozen shoulder and I didn't know that's what it was and nobody told me. It's actually taken until post-menopause, I am 54, before I got a doctor to understand and get me on estrogen. I had a hysterectomy at 45. Let me tell you, that is wonderful. Made a world of difference. We have 2 small dogs. They wear diapers, not because they are incontinent, but because just in case I'm old enough and I'm legally blind. I don't want to deal with accidents anymore. My one dog doesn't like men, so during school, when my daughter and I are gone, the boys have a hard time getting her to go out and do anything. So, because the 18-year-old and my husband are at home. My husband's retired. I'm retired, but I am a school librarian and possibly picking up another class to teach next year. That's like an extracurricular thing, a club, you might want to call it. I don't know how you would say it. It hasn't been quite enough figured out. We'll see. My daughter's auditioning for it at the end of the school year, so we'll see if she makes it. And so I volunteer at the school for the librarian most of the time, but I am the librarian substitute. And people are like, but you're legally blind. Right. So I can't really see out of my left eye. All I can really make out in my left eye is light and dark. Some colors. Shapes are hard. So I have no depth perception. I have ocular albinism. I have nystagmus. I have retinopathy of prematurity. I have other stuff. So I technically am legally blind because I have tunnel vision, because I have about 10 to 12 degrees of vision maybe at this point, and that's about I think 15 to 20 degrees of vision is 10% of your vision. So I've got a little bit less than 10% of what you see, I see. So that means bumping into things is easy. And because I have distance vision is shite, and for me distance is 3 to 4 feet. The ocular albinism, if I get too much light, it blurs things even more. So my screen, computer screens, I have 2, and they are very heavily magnified, and you check books in by scanner. The kids have learned to be very forgiving when I don't recognize them or I confuse them with a different student because there's 3 blonde girls in 2nd grade that look just alike. Whatever. The hardest thing is, and I will be honest, and this is obnoxious, the hardest thing is when it's a brown person. I feel bad, they feel bad. And I don't want to put children through that. So, Mitzi, come here, what do you want? So that's just kind of the shitty part of the blindness. I'm doing a thing. I just helped teach a crochet class, so I'm doing an example of what we taught so that you can see it. Mitzi, you're not getting on my lap right now. And yes, Mitzi is the one that doesn't let the boys touch her. You little angel. Then Mocha's in with my daughter. So Mitzi's a Morkie, a Maltese Yorkie, and Mocha is a Havanese Poodle. Mitzi's 7 pounds, 8 pounds maybe, 7 pounds. Mocha is 12. And she's about the same height as Mitzi. She's about twice as long. She might be a little bit taller. So this is the class that I just taught. There was a friend of mine from school was teaching a crochet class, and she's like, I'm gonna have beginners and I'm gonna have advanced. So will you teach this pattern for advanced? And I'm like, I know that pattern. I do that pattern all the time. So take a screenshot if you want to. The neatest thing about this pattern is you can adjust the size of the heart by adjusting your hook size and your yarn gauge. So this was a DK weight in a 6mm hook. This is a worsted weight in a 5mm hook. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? My aunt was at the class because she's friends with the lady I'm friends with, and she was having a really hard time. Her arthritis has gotten worse. She's 10 years older than me. So I'm gonna give her this hook because she thinks this will help. I think she needs one of those egg attachments, but we'll see. Also this week, I started this hat because my mom's church is doing a hat drive because they do a lot of homeless things. I finished this hat. I finished this hat. And this was with scraps. The blue was scraps, the gray was scraps. It's amazing what can be done with scraps. So I go through chocolate phases. Right now I'm in my 100-gram bar chocolate phase. Last year was my Reese's Pieces. Okay, you ready for this? I finished it. I haven't washed and blocked it at all. This thing is, I think, about 76, 78 inches long, but it's only about four-ish wide. Yeah, I'd say it's about four-ish wide. But if you've got a long couch, it will actually fold over the entire back. I like it when they're not super wide because then you can roux on it if you need to in the winter. And in Arizona, we don't have a lot of winter clothes because we don't have a lot of storage. You don't get a lot of closet storage in these houses. You get like storage sometimes if you're lucky, but not like closet storage. So we don't have a lot of coats. So I could bring this to the library and wrap up in it at my desk. I am thinking I want to keep this one. You know, I very rarely keep the things, but I am thinking I want to keep this one. Because it's bright and it's cheerful and yet it's also still fall and masculine. And people ask me questions about my sweatshirts. This is a hooded sweatshirt. I just cut it above the seam. And I cut the hood off because I don't like all that bulk here. Now I have a couple that do have a hood. But most of the time to wear them, I like to have the pocket, but I don't like the tight neckline. And on my zip-up hoodies, I do the same thing. Now, I think part of that's because of the length of my hair. But I've always kind of been that way. And I'm wearing what makes me feel good, period. That is life now. Hi, Mitzi. Hi, Mitzi. Hi. Okay. I love you. Oh, she can hear my son showering next door, and she wants my chocolate bar. So then what is next? I've made no progress on my 2-color crochet blanket in linen stitch, none. But I took the extra square off of this and I started where is the connection point? Where is it, people? Where is it? Here it is. I started going around, I'm just that far, so that I can cover up these joints. What I do is I do a double crochet in this corner, then I pull a loop through on this corner, pull a loop through on that corner. I do through 3 loops, then I do through 2 loops. So it kind of covers that space. So you've got the double crochet, you've got, I think it's called an extended half double crochet, to be honest. And then you've got a double crochet, and it's enough space to get across there so that in the next row, everything evens out. So I am going to take my nice little middle section and I'm just going to granny around it to make it the size that I want to. I may also, at a certain point, take some of the other squares and make like, put 4 of them together and then throw that into like the corners of the blanket or whatever. So I may do some rounds of granny and then put 4 together and then do those big squares around to make it grow. I don't know, I haven't decided, but I'm having a really hard time doing just all those little tiny squares. So I think this will get it done faster and motivate me more. This is what I've learned in my 54 years of life. You have to be ready to pivot. Life and art have taught me that, because creativity teaches you that. Knitting teaches you that. Stop, and honestly, if you need to backtrack, that's okay. Sometimes if you take 2 steps back, you'll get 6 steps ahead. My husband likes to say slow is fast. If you go slow and you don't make any mistakes and you know what you're doing, sometimes you can get to the end faster. Life has been interesting. I don't know. Everybody I know is saying that like January is crazy. You know, we're at the end of January on Friday. We've tried to get my dad to move in with us. He's got 3 skin cancer surgeries coming. He's got 1 here, he's got 1 on his cheek, and he's got 1 on his hand. That's right here and may impact these 2 fingers. We don't know. No, it's not here, it's here. It's right in between these 2. He does not want to. He is now antibiotic resistant to the UTIs. So for those of you that know, you know. We do have plans in place if he needs to be with us short term, and he's agreed to that. He's agreed to short term, like recovery periods from surgery if needed, especially with his hand, because it's his right hand. So if he needs help dressing and doing life stuff, he'll just come and stay with us. And we'll put him in the master, and we'll be fine. It'll work. We'll love it. And then he'll go back to his home as long as that's safe. And that will be the case regardless. So a neighbor approached us about buying our house because they found out it was handicap accessible. And they have a handicapped daughter who they didn't realize how quickly she'd be in adult-sized wheelchairs and etc. And it's not working great in their house. They had a neighbor that wanted to buy their house. So they're fleshing that out right now. We've started to look at some stuff in town and mull over what our options are. So life is a little bit crazy right now, but completely doable and absolutely in a good way. And regardless of where we would go to, we would still have enough space to do the same thing for my dad. He might even like it better if we're in the city, because then my son is more willing to drive to grocery stores and restaurants and stuff. So that's really interesting. We have watched my parents, who are 79 and 77, move a number of times in the last 12 years, and we've had to help them because they couldn't have done it without us. They could not have done it. And what that has told us is, so 77 minus 2 is 75, minus 10 is 65. He was 65 when we got married. Yeah, because my mom was only 67 when I had my daughter. It feels like they've been in their 70s for about 20 years. So, wow, that puts it into perspective. And so what we have thought is bird in hand. Somebody wants to buy it, go, bird in hand. And we've often thought about when would the right time be to leave here, because my husband loves being here, but we don't love maintaining it anymore. We don't use this little farm for what it should be used anymore. We don't have any of the animals. We used to have half a dozen cow. We used to have a couple of goats. We used to have dozens of pigs. We used to have dozens of turkeys and, well, half dozen turkeys. I think we had 6. We used to have about 80 chickens. We used to have all this farm, and now we just don't. And half-acre garden and quad trails and all this stuff. We just don't. So, bird in hand, we're going to go into town, and then people often criticize my husband and I how many times we've moved in our life. And sure, it's not the best thing financially all the time to be doing, but sometimes it has been good financially. And honestly, I think it's okay to have an adventure. It's absolutely okay to have an adventure. That's the way I look at it. And my parents have taught me not to be afraid to have an adventure or change when the time seems right. Sometimes you don't think it's right, but then something happens like now, and all of a sudden it becomes right. Because them coming into our house makes it feel totally right. It's a good thing for them, and it's totally right. It'd be much easier to be involved in school things for me and my daughter. And so I'm very excited. And my husband's coming around too. There are some things that make it exciting for him and some that don't. And, and my son, he doesn't love change, but I think maybe we're doing this again so he can learn to embrace change and know that as scary as it feels at times, it's the feeling of scary and the feeling of excitement. Stop and think about that. It's almost the same thing. So you've just got to switch your perspective. And so I think this spring is going to be crazy for everybody. I mean, it's certainly coming into this new year has been crazy for the world, but I think the spring is going to be crazy on a world level and on a personal people level, because I just know so many people with stuff going on, and I'm excited. So I hope you can find something you're excited with. If things don't seem quite right, see if you can tweak that perspective a little bit and look with your heart first, not your eyes. Thanks for being here.